Welcome to the Proof of Concept Podcast, the ultimate fusion of IT and cybersecurity. Hosted by Jared Durval, a tech veteran with 15 plus years of experience. Each episode unveils 3 dynamic segments. Executive Brief, delivering strategic IT insights for leaders. Technical Deep Dive, exploring cutting-edge tech for experts. And Cyber Job Alert, guiding aspiring professionals with industry trends and expert interviews. Join us at the crossroads of innovation and security, where executives, engineers, and future tech stars converge. Stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of IT and cybersecurity. This is the Proof of Concept Podcast. Let's revolutionize tech together.
It is a well-documented fact that IT and cybersecurity are very tough fields for employers to compete in, especially employers with very small budgets. Every month, it is reported that there are hundreds of thousands of unfilled IT and cybersecurity positions. Why? That is because there are more jobs than there are IT and cybersecurity professionals to fill them. While that is good for the employees, it is a very difficult position for the employers. In this series of videos, I'm going to show small and mid-sized enterprise owners or executives how to build their own networks and show them how to reduce the cost of their IT and cybersecurity implementation and operation by up to 90%. Whenever I'm building a network, I like to follow what's called the PPDIOO framework. That stands for Prepare, Plan, Design, Implement, Operate, and Optimize. This is a framework that was created by Cisco a while back to guide IT and network professionals in their network implementation projects. We're going to spend a significant amount of time in the planning and the preparation of this network. Why is that necessary? That is because, unlike many other things, when you are building a network, you have very little room for error. You don't want to buy the wrong equipment and discover after the equipment has been delivered that it's not the right equipment for you. But I'm building a network that's supposed to be scalable, efficient, and secure. Scalable here means that it's a network that can grow with my needs. Efficient means it's a network that is very, very reliable and able to deliver on the promise of allowing me and my network users to create, store, share, and access data, regardless of where the data happens to live, whether it's here or across the world. Regardless of how scalable and efficient a network is, if it's not secure, it defeats the purpose. It will get you to be hacked and expose your data. Look at this snapshot of my network today. And although that's how my network is now, that's not how my network will be forever. So I've got to put in mind that this network has to be a bit bigger than what I need today. You've got to realize as well that the networks are built for inference to be connected. That means for laptop, computers, printers, and all kinds of other devices to create data and to share data. That's why we start with these devices. I list them all. What are the devices that are going to be on my network? Laptops, tablets, desktops, TVs, cameras, servers, phones, printers, gaming devices, and IoT devices. Your network might have some other types of devices. You can just add another row and list the equipment here. The network devices or the endpoints, they will be associated with the network, wired or wireless. Those that are connected with a wire, sometimes they need the cable to provide them with the data, but also the power for them to function. I know that I'm going to have 2 laptops connected with a wire. The one that I'm using right now is connected with a wire. I'm going to have 8 laptop/tablets that are connected wirelessly. 9 cameras that need to be connected with a wire, and also for that same wire to provide them with the power for them to function. That's surveillance cameras. We have 1 server here and 3 phones that are connected wirelessly. These are cell phones. And I think we have about 3 gaming devices. You have 20 devices connected wirelessly, 6 devices connected with wire, and 9 devices that need PoE over the Ethernet. PoE stands for Power over Ethernet. For a total of 35 devices on my network today. That is key information for me to know, because with this information, I can size the network appropriately. Some of these pieces of equipment you can expand. That means you can buy small today and you can add to them. In others, you cannot do that. So you're going to want to make sure that for those that you cannot expand, you buy the right size so that it can grow with you over the next 5-10 years. Mine is an extremely small network. A small network is a network between 10 and 200 employees. A mid-size between 200 and 1,000, and above 1,000 employees, that's a large network. You can see here that mine has just about 35 devices. That would mean just about 15 people or so. But it's going to be built just like an enterprise network. And so you can take the same blueprint and build your enterprise network with it. The potential cost of a network like this would be about $25,000 for the equipment. And you don't have to buy the equipment often. You do that about every 10 years. Now there's some licenses as well. Now the licenses, they're listed here, and you pay for these every year. That's annual expenditure. Now if you were to pay someone to build this network for you, it would cost you just about $100,000, $200 to $250 an hour. And you do the math, that can easily cost about $100,000 for a total of $135,000 in the first year. The second year, you would need someone to maintain this network. A senior professional, network and cybersecurity professional, would cost you just about $170,000 a year. You would need a cybersecurity team to provide governance, risk, and compliance and security operation. That a very small team of 1 to 2 people will cost you here just about $300,000. For a total of $470,000 in labor cost every year. And that would cost you every year about $525,000 for your network operation. The first year, it would cost you an additional $125,000. But if you build it yourself, you cut this cost by 90%. You see, it will cost you just about $10,000. Why is that possible today? That is because over the past 5-10 years, network and security vendors, the biggest in the world, have been creating technology to make network operations easier and to tailor their technology to small and mid-sized enterprises. The same technology that the biggest companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, they use, now they resize it in a smaller box. They provide different subscriptions so that small and mid-sized enterprises can benefit. Why do they do that? About 99% of the enterprises in the United States are small or mid-sized enterprises. Yet, the big technology vendors, they never tailored enough to the small and mid-sized companies. A small company that has a $10,000, $20,000 budget, it is very, very hard for them to find a decent company to come and implement their solution for them. But that's all changing. And so anyone who has about 1 to 2 hours a week can easily operate an enterprise-grade network. I'm going to show you how to do that. Follow me on jareddesrival.com. Follow my YouTube channel. Follow me on LinkedIn and all of my social media, and follow this proof of concept. All right, welcome back. This is the technical deep dive. We just finished with the executive briefing. In this technical deep dive, I'm going to show you how to plan your network entirely. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. A friend of a friend called and introduced me to this garage door company that needed some help with their technology. Problem was the network would stop for about 2 minutes, about 10, 20 times a day. They were using an old Cisco router that's been end of life and end of support for 10 years. And they used to use that for VPN to remote into the network. And now this couldn't do it anymore, but they needed to have access to their QuickBooks that's inside of the enterprise. And they found out on the internet that you could put a public IP on the server where the QuickBooks is installed, and when you're at home, you can install it. But they didn't realize that this exposed the whole server and their entire financial operation to the rest of the world. I quickly resolved that for them and put them on a Fortinet solution. Now their networks are secure. Here's another story. A luxury apartment called, and they said they have been suffering for Wi-Fi for the past 3 years or so. They called company after company, and the people who come, they don't really have the expertise. They try and they need help. They never had a proper wireless survey done. I helped them with that, put them on an Aruba instant solution, and now they're happy. Now I'm going to show you how to do these same things. And the best part of it is that you're starting, as I am starting, to build my home network. And I have some gears behind of me. At the end of this series of small and mid-sized enterprise DIY network series, I'm going to give away these types of equipment. 2 access points like this, and 1 switch like the big one below, and a FortiGate firewall. This is going to be for those who subscribe to my newsletters. So head over to jaredderival.com, hit subscribe up on top, and subscribe as an executive or as a tech employee, and you'll be in the pool to win 1 package like this to build your own small network, and I'll provide you with implementation service as well, free of charge. Now that you have listed the equipment that you're going to have on your network, you're going to want to design this network. You continue with the planning and designing phases of your network implementation. I have a folder here where I have listed all of these things, and you will be given access to these once you subscribe. Put yourself in the list, in the newsletter list, and what that will do, not only will it put you in the draft for you to win this gear behind of me, but also I'm going to publish a class. You're going to be in the waiting list for when this class is published. This is the diagram of my home network. What I want to draw your attention to here is the different blocks that represent my network on this diagram. It is easier for you to modulate your network. Build your network diagram in modules. I like to start with the core because a network needs to have, if nothing else, a core. The core is the center of the network. This is the part of the network that is like an intersection that will guide traffic towards multiple different segments of your network. This is my enterprise core here, and I put here a core switch. If you can see this well, this represents the core here, right? This is a beefier switch. On the core, I would plug devices like my access point. The access point is a member of the access layer. The access layer is there for endpoints to access the network. Look at this here. I have a switch here on my access layer, but I also have 2 access points on my access layer. People who want to connect or associate with the network, whether with a cell phone, a tablet, a watch, etc., they will either use an access point. That means they will connect wirelessly. This is like a radio that emits the signal to allow you to connect to the network. Or they will connect with a wire, like this. I need to make a fast connection between the core and the access layer. And that's why instead of using this type of cable, that's an Ethernet cable, I use instead a fiber optic cable. Because you see, each one of these interfaces here can support up to 1 gig of data, whereas these, they support up to 10 gigs of data. So you want to go from the core to the access layer using the fastest type of link that you can have, which is the 10 gig link here. And you can combine all 4 of these to make it 40 gigs in total. You have seen here my core layer and my access layer. You need to have an enterprise edge. A modern network needs a firewall at the edge. And at this enterprise edge, we also have what we call the SASE, that's Secure Access Service Edge. Some of your services might be in the cloud and in different parts of the world, and you want to securely allow access to these services in the cloud. Some of the employees will not be inside of the office, they'll work from home. So you need to have provision for remote workers as well. And we'll talk about how they will come into the network securely and access the services that they need. You might have some services on premise, like an Active Directory, Radius, LDAP, PRTG, Splunk. These are the services that make the network not just operate better, but also monitor the network and make the network more secure. We'll learn about what these are. Active Directory is the directory of your user database where all of your usernames and passwords live, and people who are logging into these computers, their credentials will come from this. Same thing for Radius and LDAP. These are protocols that allow this type of transactions to happen. PRTG is a monitoring system, an enterprise monitoring system that comes with a free version to monitor a small amount of devices. Splunk is the biggest SIEM solution. That's a big data processing engine. It monitors the network for you. It collects large amount of unstructured data, parses that unstructured data, and turns that into type of data that humans can easily read and take action based on that data. You might want to have one of these, and I will have one. I already have one in my network, and I'll show you how to build this whole cloud, private cloud infrastructure. But this whole thing could also live outside of the network, on the cloud. So it doesn't have to be inside of the network in the local area network. It could be across the web as well, and you will still have secure access to it. That is the design of my network. But how did I make it look so pretty? I use this program that's called Visio, if you're not familiar with it. Visio is the standard program for network diagram in the enterprise world. If you have Microsoft Office 365, you likely have access to Visio. All you need to do is to log into your Office account. In your app area, you'll see Visio. Open Visio, and you can start creating your diagrams. Right here, I take a shape, a basic shape, and I shape that basic shape the way I want. And I change the color of that shape. I like to start with the core. I give this a color that is clearer for me to see. And I bring it up on top, and I can copy this. And now I can add devices to these modules. I need a switch. I just type switch here. And Visio gives me a bunch of stencils or icons for the switches. I like this one. It looks more modern than the rest of them. So I choose this and I drag it and put it here. And eventually you're going to need to connect these things, right? You have two ways of connecting them. You can click on this. This is called the connector. You can click on one of those little dots here and drag down to the other device you want to connect it to. This is a bit more rigid in the Visio on the web. There's a second way that is less rigid, is to use this. Instead of having a rectangle here, you choose a line, and you can draw a line just like that. And so that's how I built this whole diagram here for you. You want to have a diagram to represent the network that you're going to have. You want to have the snapshot of the equipment that you're going to use on your network. And these two combined will take you to what we call the bill of material. The bill of material is the list of the equipment with names on them. Let's get into the solutions that I'm providing to you here. Aruba Solutions, that's the one I'm using here. Meraki solution and Fortinet solution, 3 of the best. Now, let's start with the Aruba solution, the one that I'm going to be using. And this is the gear that I have behind of me here. Now, this is the most affordable, yet the best solution. It has just a little bit of inconvenience, and I'll explain that to you in a few minutes. I have an Aruba switch that's 24 ports. That's exactly this switch that you have down below here. This core switch that I'm going to use here. Why 24 ports? That's because in my network planning, I only have 15 wired devices in my network, and 9 of them need power over Ethernet. This gives me 24 ports. In those 24 ports, all of them are power over Ethernet. That means I have enough ports to power my 9 devices and then some. But more importantly, you need to realize that the switch can expand with you. I could have had just that one switch. In a month, a year, 2 years, I outgrow this switch, I add a second switch. And I connect this switch to this. I can either connect them together and make them become one bigger switch, or I can use them as 2 separate switches, right? And I have more ports. And if I outgrow that in the future, I add a third, a fourth, etc., etc. I have this Aruba 24 ports, but if you need 150 ports, obviously this is not the right one for you. That's why you have a second option here for the same Aruba, but one that comes in 48 ports. But if you need more than 24 ports, you don't choose the 24, you choose the 48. And if you need 2, 3, etc., you can buy as many as you want. But as you do that, you can change the number here. Let's just say that I didn't use a 24 port. I used 0 of that, and I needed 5 of these. I could have easily changed that. And this Excel sheet will calculate this for you easily. This whole thing is hosted in a folder, and it's going to be inside of the class that I'm going to give to you, and you can access all of this without having to rebuild this whole thing yourself. That's the idea of having the expert guidance to make this easier for you to implement. Any time of the day or night, as you're building this network by yourself, you need help, you just schedule a meeting right here. An expert with over a decade of experience shows up and helps you get unstuck. So you're not really going to be by yourself. The difference here is that instead of you having the expert on the clock 8 hours a day, you're going to use the expert whenever you need to help you build this network. And some of these gears will be shipped to you pre-configured. That way when they get to you, it's plug and play. And I'm going to have also 3 access points. You see 2 of them, and I also have a third somewhere here. And I'm going to have also a Palo Alto firewall. Why a Palo Alto firewall? That is because this is the best firewall in the world, classified as #1 for the past 10 to 15 years. There's never been any security appliances ever made by mankind that is more powerful, more capable, more robust than a Palo Alto, more complete than a Palo Alto firewall. The US government, governments around the world, the biggest companies that you can think of, Google, Amazon, all of them rely on Palo Alto. Second in line is Fortinet. They make the FortiGate firewalls. And that's one of the solutions that I recommend to you here as well. So you need a firewall. In the firewall, when it comes to the Aruba solution, for me, will be the Palo Alto firewall. I chose a PA460. This is a small to mid-sized enterprise firewall, can do a lot for you. So this is a very good firewall that I'm not going to outgrow anytime soon. This firewall needs to have a license. So this is the cost of the firewall. I'm going to have just one. And if you needed two of them, some institutions will have two so that they can have high availability. If one dies, the network will not go down. And so you can just change the number here and it'll change the price for you. The Palo Alto needs to have license, and I give you here a bundle of license. That's all of the license that you will need for 12 months, and that costs you almost the same price as the firewall. And the total for this solution will be $11,000. That's the most affordable solution of the three that I will present to you. The next in line will be the Meraki solution. Meraki gives you the whole line. And now, understand, here's the little inconvenience that comes with this solution. You have the best firewall, but you can manage the access point and the switch on the cloud, on the web browser, and on the telephone, but you can't do that for the Palo Alto. The Meraki gives you the complete solution. You have the switches, the access point, the firewall, even cameras, security cameras if you need. Everything you need, Meraki provides that in on one dashboard. The problem with that, unlike with the Aruba, the access point and the switches, you never will need any license for them. For Meraki, you need to have license. You need to continue to pay for the license. You stop paying, they cut the network as well. Let's say I was using this, the equivalent of the network that I'm building at home would cost me, let's say, one switch, 3 access points, 1 firewall, and a license for each of these devices will cost me $21,000. Whereas with the Aruba, it cost me $11,500. The same exact thing. Here comes the Fortinet solution. This is the second preferred solution. This is a complete solution as well, provided by Fortinet. You can manage it in the cloud, but my preference for you would be to manage it like I'm managing this FortiGate right here. I can manage the whole thing. This is the firewall, but this firewall is also a controller. It controls the access point, it controls the switch. Right here, I can see my network. I can click here on Wi-Fi and switch controller, and I can see the access points that I'm managing here. I only have one. I can see the switches that I'm managing here. And I can build the whole network right here on this FortiGate firewall. It's a controller as well. The FortiGate solution will cost you $18,000 for the same size network that I'm using for the Aruba. So if I were you, if you don't like the Aruba solution, Aruba combined with Palo Alto, in my opinion, that's so beautiful. That's the best solution. The second solution I would recommend would be the FortiGate or the Fortinet solution. It's a complete solution. You have switches, access points, firewalls, and you can expand this however it makes sense for you. And this will automatically calculate the price and give you the total of that stuff. And if you prefer to have the Meraki, that's my least favorite. It has the firewall that is the worst firewall among those 3 firewalls. So my choice, my recommendation is Aruba number 1, Fortinet number 2, and Meraki number 3. Now, this is it. I will compare the firewalls for you in the next video. Now, who can benefit from this? I've already mentioned any small or mid-sized enterprise owner or executive who has problem finding quality experts to build a network and who's looking to cut the cost by up to 90%. Follow me on jareddesrival.com. Follow my YouTube channel. Follow me on LinkedIn and all of my social media, and follow this proof of concept. My proprietary IT or cybersecurity exposure learning framework is an easy framework to understand. It guarantees that you can learn any IT or cybersecurity skill and become a master at this within 4 to 6 months. We need to replace training with exposure. That is the only way for you to learn any technology that you need or want to learn within a very short period of time. These are the 3 requirements that you need to master any technology in a very short period of time. First, be exposed to the technology every day for 4 months. Have access to a coach who can teach you hands-on the practical way of using this technology, and decrease the coach's involvement incrementally over the first 4 months. As a result of that, you will implement this technology by yourself after the 4th month. And here's what that looks like. Month number 1, the coach teaches you 75% of what you will do. Month number 2, the coach does 50% and you do 50%. Month 3, the coach 25% and you 75%. Month 4, coach 10%, you 90%. Month 5 and 6, you repeat everything, except this time you do it by yourself on this Swirl technology. This is IT or cybersecurity exposure learning framework. It's a proprietary framework, and I'm coming to show the world that there is a better way, an easier way, a more efficient way, and really the only way to learn IT or cybersecurity in the modern days. You can't do well with training, and it's time now that we replace IT or cybersecurity training with IT or cybersecurity exposure. Find out more on jaredderival.com.
Welcome to the Proof of Concept Podcast, the ultimate fusion of IT and cybersecurity. Hosted by Jared Derval, a tech veteran with 15 plus years of experience. Each episode unveils 3 dynamic segments. Executive Brief, delivering strategic IT insights for leaders. Technical Deep Dive, exploring cutting-edge tech for experts. And Cyber Job Alert, guiding aspiring professionals with industry trends and expert interviews. Join us at the crossroads of innovation and security, where executives, engineers, and future tech stars converge. Stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of IT and cybersecurity. This is the Proof of Concept Podcast. Let's revolutionize tech together.